So to that start ingesting logs into CyberSift, your very first step is obviously to identify where you're going to be ingesting from. Here we're going to be ingesting from Windows, so we're going to need an agent to pick up the logs. Now this could be in syslog, you might not need an agent. With Linux you should use AuditBeat, and there are other agents depending on your use case. But let's focus on WinLogBeat. The latest version here on their site is 8.14. However, we are on a different major branch, so they develop basically in parallel, and you can see if you search for the latest 7. Branch in this right now, it's 7.17.22. It's been updated very recently, so we prefer having the WinLog Beat version 7 branch. Let's download that. You have a number of options. MSI. I am going to use zip for this training, just so that I'll be able to show you via the console exactly what's happening. And once that downloads, it should go into the downloads folder. I'm going to open a command prompt in the background, and I'm going to unzip. Let's go to downloads. Let's unzip all this. Unzip, extract all. There we go. It's extracted there. Great. And now, cd downloads, cd WinLogBeat. We're going to see how to set this up. Very first thing you have to do is go into the directory, is to modify the WinLogBeat reference. Now, the WinLogBeat reference file is all the possible options that you have. A condensed version of all the possible options that you have is actually here in the winlogbeat.yml. So let's open that, and you end up having all this lovely stuff. Now, we actually provide you with templates for WinLogBeat in our knowledge base. So if I go to the public support wiki and we do a search for WinLogBeat template, or not sure if it's WinLogBeat template or just WinLogBeat. There we go. How to install and set up WinLogBeat. And you literally have to just copy this with the note of exactly what's written here. That listen, you need to change 192.168 to match the SIEM IP address. So let's go ahead and copy this. We'll go to our WinLogBeat, paste it, and my particular SIEM is a test version listening on localhost. So let's save all that. And now we have our lovely CMD open, which is going to be winlogbeat.exe, config file winlogbeat.yml. Once I do this, we should start seeing at least some traffic going to the SIEM, which we will check later. So assuming that everything is going into our SIEM, we need to configure Niffy to start picking up these logs. So right now everything is being buffered on the SIEM, but we need to actually do something with those logs that are being sent. And here we do have things that actually come out of the box, but I'm going to build it from scratch just to show you. So let's go into Windows, we'll go here, open this. All the logs are being sent to a custom Redis instance. So the first thing is I want to pick up these logs, get Redis list, and it asks me to configure a couple of things, which is basically the list name. If I go back over here, the list name is actually WinLogBeat. So let's just copy that, paste it here. Okay, apply. What I like to do is pick a random a random processor. It could be anything, it just so happens that I chose alerter. Connect the two together and start one processor, because we should start seeing the queue filling up, okay, of filling up with logs. So let's start. And we're seeing 10, so it seems like we have something coming in. We are actually sending logs. But just to be sure, let's list the queue, view content, and it's going to tell me, listen, this is the timestamp, it's Microsoft, so this looks good, and somewhere we should see my host name, my laptop. So the data is actually starting to come in and it's hitting Niffy. But obviously we have a queue here, and even though the logs are being picked up, they're kind of getting stuck in this queue. Now we don't want it to go into alerter. We want these raw JSON logs that we just saw to be parsed somehow. And this is where the CyberSift custom processors also come in. We have this. You'll see CyberSift here, Windows Context Worker. So let's add that. We'll move this a bit aside, tack that there, configure it, and we can actually just leave everything as is over here. There are a couple of performance optimizations, but that is beyond the scope of this quick lesson, so let's leave that there. And again, I like doing something like this, where I'll put in the success, and I'm literally going to press Ctrl C, Ctrl V to have two processors here, and alerts. What's left? I need to terminate, failed, and Swift. Swift is usually when you are monitoring Swift logs, which we are not. And failed, you might want to, it's honestly where there are logs that have been failed to be processed. In our case, I'm not really interested in getting either of those logs, so I'm going to automatically terminate those relationships. Any logs that are supposed to be sent out of those queues are going to be dropped. So let's drop, and now I have a nice ready to go processor. So let's click start, and now again I should start seeing the queues being populated. You see success is being populated and alerts is being populated. Okay, so I don't actually want them to go to alerter. I want them to go into Elasticsearch. So put Elastic CS. There are multiple ones. Where you see CyberSift, prefer them because those are our custom processors. So here there's a lot of basically improvements for performance and things like that. So let's stick this here. We can delete this because we don't need it. And we need to configure this. Let's terminate all the relationships. I want this one to be the last one. Now, HTTP localhost. These are typically filled in. Or a pro tip for you is that out of the box we actually do configure these, so you can literally copy paste. To give you an idea, Linux is one of those that comes out of the box. I can highlight this, copy, Control C, go here, Control V. Let's move this and then modify it as necessary. At least you find most of the things already filled in. See, localhost. The only thing that I need to do is, instead of audit beat, put it as winlog beat. You can actually set whatever you want here, but winlog beat is what the SIEM expects, even in terms of running machine learning checks and this and that. So winlog beat is the recommended. If you want to send it to another index, you can do so by copying it. Okay. So let's go with winlog beat. Apply. That's there. Now I want to do the same thing, but I want this to go into alerts. So let's copy. I'm going to add alerts there. Niffy has a whole expression language. It's called the Niffy expression language, which I will post a link to the documentation because it is extremely useful. You can do almost anything with it. Here we're creating a new index, alerts-winlog beat-year, month, day. So we split the indices by day. Let's hit apply. Let's go there, and now I can click start, refresh, and we should start seeing, there we go, the queues being processed. Now, The very last step is actually viewing this data in our SIEM. So if I go here and I go into, again, for purposes of training, I'm going to start everything from scratch. So let me go to Management, Dashboards Management, Index Pattern. I already have WinLogBeat here, but let's create one just for the purposes of training, okay? So create new index pattern, WinLogBeat, and you should see, there we go, that your pattern actually matches a couple of sources. The one of today happens to be great. So timestamp, create index pattern, and now once we go into the Discover tab and we go to WinLogBeat, let's increase this, and those are that's my data coming in from my own host. So I can shut everything down now. And there you have it, from beginning to end, ingesting Windows logs in probably under 10 minutes.